So the Patriots beat the Giants 33-15, and the first takeaway of this game is Jackson Dart's got to protect himself better, man. That guy takes way too many hits. It's like it's one of those things where it's good to show your toughness and grit and whatnot, but too many of those hits, you're just bound to get injured, you know. So Jackson Dart takes too many hits, but nice win for the Patriots, and that just looks smooth. That just when they interviewed Drake May before that game, you can tell this was a team that was just confident, and they knew that they could just go out, do what they've done all year, distribute the ball. You know, Drake May play confident, turnover free football, and just continue to throw the ball accurate and distribute the ball to his playmakers like Kayshon Boutte, Kyle Williams, and Travion Henderson, and they did just that. And it looks smooth. Nice punt return from Marcus Jones. Marcus Jones, but a nice player, kind of an undersized corner, but he's found a role in the NFL. And yeah, the Patriots, just a really strong roster. Christian Gonzalez, Travion Henderson. It looks like they kind of have like a strong, I've talked about this, they have like a strong core on this team. Christian Barmore, Christian Gonzalez, Drake May, Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams. You feel like that, those guys, I've touched on this before in like a different video. They kind of have, those could be a guys that could be kind of like create like a nucleus of this team for a long time. And like people have talked about, Drake May is accurate. It's one of the main indicators when you go from college to the NFL, when you're trying to project, not even just from college to the NFL, but from if a guy that's talent, like a quarterback talented, like middle school, high school, the number one way to project how he will do later on at the next level is he accurate? Drake May is accurate. He's got the size, in the like the pocket presence, and the touchdown to Kyle Williams, that was just a throw where it's like that just looked, I didn't say it necessarily looked easy for Drake May to make, but when he made it, he made that throw, and that's a throw where you're like, okay, this guy, not say he belongs, because Drake May's already proved he belonged, but this is a guy who he's got it. Like you can definitely say maybe people could already say Drake May's got it, but that was, to me, for me, a person that's not watched Drake May a ton, that was a throw. I was like, okay, yeah, this guy's got it. This guy's gonna sustain success for a long time. Kyle Williams, another nice player, rookie from Washington State, kind of slipped in the draft, one of those under the radar guys that got some buzz late because some people were throwing out his name, but he's a nice player. And then Travion Henderson, I did not think Travion Henderson would go on to be this type of running back. I thought Travion Henderson would be a good player in the NFL, but I thought he'd be one of those guys that might take a few years in the NFL to become good. Kind of like, I can't really think of a good example per se, but yeah, Travion Henderson, he's a guy that just, he's looking good right away as just a rookie. Guy that had a nice career at Ohio State. If you go back to his high school days, he was a 5-star number one running back recruit. So yeah, Travion Henderson, to me, he just seems like one of those guys, kind of like Drake May. He's had it for a long time. Like Henderson, since high school, the reason he was ranked the number one running back in high school is just because, he was a good pass catcher, good runner, fast, strong, can break tackles, plays confidently, can pass block. I guess where I'm getting, he's a good all-around running back. Same with Drake May, just good all-around quarterback. So now you have a good all-around quarterback, a good all-around running back, playmakers at receiver. Kayshon Boutte, a nice story. Had a really big season at LSU. What was it, back in like 2021, and then he kind of tailed off. I think he had I forget exactly what happened, but didn't have as good a season in what would have been 22 after he had a nice year in 21. But he's really done a nice job in the NFL. And then Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel is kind of like the perfect coach for a team, because Mike Vrabel seems to thrive when he gets like a good core team around him. Like in Tennessee, when they had Derrick Henry, Jeffrey Simmons, kind of like the Patriots now. And then was Tannehill the quarterback when they were making those playoff runs? When he does get like a good core nucleus of a quarterback, running back, a couple star players on defense, that seems where Mike Vrabel I guess he's a guy that I like the expression he does more with more. Like to me, is Mike Vrabel a guy that's gonna like you kind of seen like with the Titans why he started like if is he a guy that could coach a roster that's average to bad roster and turn them into a good team. I guess that's interesting though because some people would argue maybe New England still is an average roster, but I think at this point it's very interesting. I'd say it's a good roster, but yeah, I think Mike Vrabel. I think it's a good roster that Mike Vrabel's done. Gave him a little bit of boost. I think he does more with more, if that makes sense. People say that about Jared Goff. He's a guy that does more with more. You see, like if Goff, for example, like his rookie year in Los Angeles, didn't have an offensive line around him, and he struggled. To me, Mike Vrabel, like, what's a roster that's struggling right now? Like if Mike Vrabel was on the Raiders right now, would he? Maybe they would have a better record, but I don't think they would not be having the success that New England had. New England just reeled off its 10th win last night. Yeah, as for the Giants, though, I kind of like the Giants' defense. I mean, you look, Javon Holland, a nice player, Paulson Adebo, but the Giants, Paulson Adebo, a nice player as well, too, but the Giants fell in this trap that, I hate to be too negative, but a lot of bad teams fall in this trap. They find themselves overpaying guys that are essentially become proven to be average to, solid players. Like, for example, Paulson Adebo, Javon Holland, I think at this point in their careers, those are both guys that are, 4 or 5 years deep in the league. They're both just solid players, and the Giants paid both those guys a lot of money. And what's funny is I really like Javon Holland, and I really like Paulson Adebo, but they're not guys that if you're a casual football fan, a lot of people would know those guys' name. Like, that's how you know a guy's not necessarily a star player. Like, if you talk to casual NFL guys that just casually watch football, like a lot of casual football fans probably know the star quarterbacks of the league. They would not know who Paulson Adebo, Javon Holland is, and the Giants paid those guys a lot of money. So they fell into that trap where you're paying, average play. You're paying solid starters. I always use the term solid starters. I think you can say that definitively about Javon Holland and Paulson Adebo. The Giants overpaid for 2 solid starters, and I like those guys, but you just can't do those things if those are the things that average to poor franchises continue to fall into that trap of doing. But I mean, yeah, the Giants, Thibodeau out last night. He's been solid for him. I think he's going to get that label too as a solid starter. But Dexter Lawrence, a really good player. Bobby Okereke, decent linebacker. And like they talked about, the Giants' offensive line's finally been better. They invested a lot of capital over the year on that offensive line. John Michael Schmitz, Andrew Thomas. It's looked like it's starting to pay dividends. And Jackson Dart does look good. He was like Drake May. I didn't get to see Jackson Dart play a lot in college, but there's things to like about Jackson Dart. He is tough. He's got to stop taking so many hits. It's going to, he took Ellis, he had that huge hit on the sideline that was clean. He wasn't bounced. He's got to get out of bounds there, but he's got to stop taking some of those big hits. Yeah, as for the Giants, Wan'Dale Robinson, a nice player. That was one of those games where it's funny. I watched the first half where it was 24/7. I looked at the highlights on ESPN, and that's where the highlights ended after 24/7. That's when I was like, this game's kind of over because the Giants' offense is just going to put up points, and New England's strong enough on defense where they can kind of just, Giants look like they got a garbage touchdown to finish it 33-15. But yeah, New England, I don't know. It's tough for me. This New England team kind of reminds me of the Bengals a little bit in 2021 because you have a second-year quarterback who's playing hot, and you got some rookie key playmakers. I don't know if there might just not be enough experience because people use this expression with the Cincinnati Bengals in 21 that they were young and dumb, and they didn't necessarily mean this as like a huge shot at them, but they meant this in a way of sometimes you can just be young and a little naive playing like the Bengals in 21. You could just get on a hot streak like the Patriots are, kind of like the Bengals did in 21, and you can happen to just keep winning and you can wake up and find yourself in a conference championship in the Super Bowl, and then you're like, it's a tight game. And you're like, oh crap, we have a lot of guys that we have actually no probably. I New England, is there any guy? I don't. Yeah, there's no guy in the Super Bowl on any of the Super Bowl teams still for New England. So yeah, New England could continue on this hot streak, wake up, find themselves in a conference championship in the Super Bowl in a close game, and be like, holy crap, and then you start thinking. Sometimes, what is the expression? If you're thinking, you're stinking. So yeah, that's the thing with New England. Maybe a little young and naive. Could get challenged in the playoffs. I mean, Denver kind of an inexperienced team too. So in the whoever they can run into in the Super Bowl, the Packers, Eagles. Like if, for example, if they ran into the Eagles, I know the Eagles maybe not the best example, not looking good. They ran into the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Eagles have a lot of experience in the Super Bowl. Or if they ran into the Chiefs, not looking great for playoffs, but if they ran into the Chiefs in the conference title, that experience, the inexperience for New England, maybe could become a factor. But yeah, New England, a really nice team. Mike Vrabel doing a really good job, and they have just reeled off their 10th straight win of the season.